welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 335 for the 22nd of March, 2015. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia. What's coming up on this week's episode of the Skeptic Zone? We've got Evidence Please with Jo Alabaster. And this week Jo's going to be looking at some, interesting shops in the Sydney suburb of Newtown. Interesting indeed. There are some signs posted in the window of some shops. We might call them New Age shops, which make some pretty extraordinary claims. Jo's going to be reading out those claims, and with the help of me and Chief Investigator from Australian Skeptics, Ian Bryce, we're going to be dissecting some of the claims made on the signs in the windows of the shops in Newtown. Interpreting New Age signs coming up at the top of the show. Then it's a week in science from our good friends at the Royal Institution of Australia. And following that, it's Heidi Robertson with the Raw Skeptic Report. And Heidi reports this week on the sad news of a baby dying of whooping cough. In Australia in this day and age, it's tragic and so unnecessary. And also an important announcement on vaccinations from the New South Wales government. Now here's an important announcement for those people living in Sydney. You can meet me and Jo Alabaster, and we'll try and encourage Maynard to come along as well. That will be at the Australian Skeptics Dinner Meeting. Medical Madness and Embarrassing Bodies. You've heard him on the Skeptic Zone. It's Dr. Brad Mackay, and this will be at the Ryde Eastwood Leagues Club, Saturday, March the 28th. So that's this Saturday coming. But the deadline for getting your tickets is Wednesday the 25th of March. So this coming Wednesday, you have to be quick. Bookings are essential at www.skeptics.com.au, and this promises to be one of the more interesting of our dinner meetings this year. Hope to see you there, Sydney people. Go to skeptics.com.au/shop or just skeptics.com.au for more information and get your tickets. There'll be a lucky door prize. One person will have their dinner fee reimbursed. I think we pulled that out of a hat or something. Anyway, I hope to see you there, and if you do come along, come up and say hello. Who knows, you might even be interviewed for the Skeptic Zone. But now it's time for me to not run downstairs, because here I am downstairs already, enjoying a nice big glass of raspberry cordial with ice, because it's still muggy in Sydney. While I'm enjoying my raspberry cordial with ice, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. What we want is some more evidence, please. Here's Jo Alabaster.
Hello, this is Jo Alabaster. There's an inner city suburb in Sydney called Newtown, which is a fantastic place to spend a few hours wandering up and down the main street, looking at shops and stopping for a coffee or a snack. Newtown is around 4 kilometres southwest of the Sydney CBD. In the 1960s and 70s, affordable share housing and the suburb's close proximity to the city and universities drew in a large student population, and Newtown became something of a bohemian centre with a thriving cafe and live entertainment culture. Currently, Enmore Road and King Street host over 600 shopfronts, and some of the retailers who have set up in the area make some rather questionable claims. The Skeptic Zone took a walk down King Street, Newtown, and in the window of a New Age shop noticed this sign about a crystal bed. Energy vibration medicine is fast becoming a very popular alternative healing therapy. It is the medicine of the future. The crystal light bed modality is the ultimate life-enhancing experience because of the profound work being done on all levels of the body, the benefits outweighing many other healing therapies available today. It combines the power of colour and crystal light frequencies using an array of specially cut and lighted quartz crystals and involves the application of light beamed through a lamp. The advantages and effects of this therapy are clarified further on. Crystals are capable of transmitting, storing, and modulating energy. The highly organized state of the quartz crystals allow photons to move without being trapped and condensed, as in other forms of matter. Crystals are a primary source of natural healing due to their symmetrical molecular structure and their effect on the chromatic composition of light. The vibration of the crystals, resonating and energizing the 60 to 90% of water in our bodies, has a profound healing effect. Dr. Masaru Emoto, a visionary Japanese researcher, in his book The Message from Water, speaks of the positive and negative... And the sign stops right there mid-sentence. Now, I've got a special guest on Evidence Place to discuss this crystal business further. It's Richard Saunders.
Well, thank you, Jo Alabaster, for that reading out of that interesting sign in the window there in the New Age shop in Newtown. I'm with Ian Bryce, the Chief Investigator of Australian Skeptics. Now, Ian, you've had a read of that, or a look at the sign in the window, all to do with a crystal bed, an energy crystal bed.
That's right. Yes, Richard. I was trying to find something in it that I could hang my hat on to attack. But it's all a bit wishy-washy. So instead I thought I'd tell you a bit about crystals and other objects.
Yeah, because what we just heard from Jo Alabaster talks about, for example, crystals are capable of transmitting, storing, and modulating energy. The highly organized state of the quartz crystals allow photons to move without being trapped and condensed in,
oh dear,
and so on.
Poor photons.
What can you tell us about crystals?
Oh, well, I have here, Richard, a rock and a crystal.
Oh, you do?
As you can see, yes indeed. So I thought I'd tell you a bit about physical properties to go back to.
That's what they sound like anyway. Oh, a bit fell off, sorry.
A bit fell off. Well, that stops working now. And as you can see, I can put them on these scales.
Oh, yes.
And weigh them.
I'll lift up the microphone here.
Indeed, yes. So we find that the rock weighs 112 grams and the crystal weighs 150 grams.
Right.
Nearly the same. So that's a basic physical property that everything has. And other things they have is length and dimensions. For example, I can use these calipers to measure the length and the height and the width of the rock and of the crystal, and they're simple physical properties.
They are. It's a lovely. It's sort of like a little cluster of what sort of crystal is that? There, it's sort of almost looks like amber in colour.
Yes, I'm not sure quite what ones that is. Amethyst is very popular, but I think that's more purpley.
I think so.
This is a brown
it's very pretty. Yeah.
It's got many.
It's about 5 centimetres across by about 3 centimetres tall, and it's just like a cluster of crystals.
Yes, and many people, in fact, claim healing properties for them. So that's what we're here to talk about.
All right.
So physical properties. Everything has physical properties, and are they magic? Of course not. In fact, this piece of rock, if you look at it through a microscope, you'll find it has many fine-grained crystals inside it.
Right.
The only thing is you can't see it without an instrument, so people think it's different from the rock. So there's nothing that the crystal's going to do that the rock doesn't.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. I never thought about that. Yeah.
And scientists will learn that physical objects have other properties like hardness and melting point and boiling point and whether they dissolve in fluids.
Yeah.
And engineers make use of all these properties to make things like concrete and glass and plastic and liquid crystal displays because they know about these things. And there's nothing magical about crystals. They're just physical objects.
Of course they are. So let's talk about this, the opinion out there from many of the New Age crowd that crystals, well, not only have mystical properties, but they make very definite claims that crystals can do things to energy.
Energy, yes, that's right. When the New Age people talk about energy, they must be talking about something different. Yeah. On my wall out there's what's called an energy meter that measures the kilowatt hours supplied by the electricity since it was last read to my house. And that measures energy. Well, I'd like to ask these New Age proponents, if I give them this crystal, how will they use the energy meter to measure the energy in the crystal?
They'll probably say it's spiritual energy.
Spiritual energy, different type. The other one is mechanical energy.
Yeah.
If I drop this onto your head from a great height, Its kinetic energy is measured by a simple formula.
Right. Well, then you got potential, then kinetic, right?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. The potential energy due to height gets converted to
kinetic energy,
and then it
gets converted to painful energy once it hits my head.
And then it hits your head. The energy is a half mv squared, mass times velocity squared. And, of course, if the crystal lands on your head, it'll hurt exactly the same as a rock under the same conditions.
Yes, they're about the same. Yes, absolutely.
So the energy of a crystal is no different from the energy of a rock.
In that respect, you're absolutely right.
Yes,
yeah.
Indeed.
Well, let's have a look at this interesting claim near the bottom here, what Jo Alabaster just read to us. The vibration of the crystals resonating and energizing to the 60-90% of water in our bodies has a profound healing effect. What do you make of that?
Resonating and vibration. This is the other word, vibrations.
Vibrations, yes, they love that word.
I think most of us have probably mown the lawn with an old Victor.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
And did that vibrate your hands?
It certainly did.
It shakes and shudders and kicks and shakes. Well, that's vibration.
That's vibration, yeah.
And these days, power mowers have to have means to control the vibration, because it's possible that vibration... In fact, it's known that too much vibration kills the nerves in your fingers and hands and harms you.
Yeah.
So vibration is not to be taken lightly. And crystals don't produce vibration. If I was to stick this rock on top of a Victor motor mower, chugging and spluttering away, an old mower, it would jump up and down and rattle because the vibrations are being transmitted to it.
That's right. But just sitting here, and I'm holding the crystals now in my hand, in what sense is this vibrating if I was to take the New Age?
Well, it's certainly not vibrating in any meaningful way. No. It's only, it will transmit vibrations. If you put them in one side, they'll come out the other, but it's not producing any vibrations. It's not producing anything.
So when they say the vibration of crystals, it's meaningless.
Just nonsense. Yes, they don't know what the word means.
I have to agree. They don't. A lot of these people don't know what the word energy means, because in this blurb it's used. Here we are, right at the top. Energy/vibration medicine is becoming very popular.
Energy vibration medicine, that's a new term, like perhaps nuclear medicine or antibiotic medicine.
A lot of the proponents of homeopathy will say that it's energy medicine. Homeopathy is energy medicine. It's not physical energy. Physical medicine is not what we might understand, but it works on energy.
Oh, well, it must be magic. Obviously, they don't know what energy means.
They don't. Seriously, they don't. And when you're talking with these people, it can be very, very frustrating, because when you're not talking the same language, in effect.
The other one they refer to, I notice, Dr. Masaru Emoto, a visionary Japanese researcher, in his book, The Message from Water, speaks of the positive and negative.
And it just ends at the positive and negative.
Yes, that's right.
It just ends.
Well, they don't know what constitutes a sentence.
Well, there you go. Well, he's the guy. Well, in all fairness, possible fairness to these people, maybe they just cut the page off there. I don't know.
Okay.
Now, he's the guy, of course, he died last year, but he was taking the microscopic pictures of water.
Yes, indeed. He was singing to the water.
He was singing to the water.
And then you freeze the water and it changes the shape of the crystals, he claims. Well, I did a bit of research on him, as I had before as well. And he variously calls himself Doctor, Professor, Sir.
Oh, yes.
And he's never conducted research at a university. His degree is from a Sri Lankan degree mill.
Oh, really?
And that I didn't know. If you research that, they don't have any lectures. You don't have to attend lectures. They don't have any laboratories. The requirement for getting a degree there is to send them $500 and a statement of what you would like your certificate to say.
Then you get a doctorate.
That's right. In fact, they've issued an estimated 1 million degrees.
Hey, that's not bad.
Without having a lecture theatre or a laboratory. Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah. So that again is the type of thing that these people refer to, without any checking at all. 5 minutes on the internet, a bit of research will find out whether
because
this is true.
This man's name comes up often. When I'm talking to New Age people, they will often refer to Dr. Emoto as if he's conducted real research which validates their point of view that the energies can have a mystical influence on water and so on.
Well, the scientists are always cautious in what they say. They say things like, he hasn't published any refereed papers, and he doesn't have a laboratory, and his work has never been verified, and It's not taken very seriously. Well, I say it's nonsense from start to finish.
Yeah.
And it's also fraudulent. He became very rich from this without any real basis to it all under false pretenses. I'll go a bit further.
And there's more interesting things here. The crystal light bed modality is the ultimate in life-enhancing experience because of the profound work being done on all levels of the body. This is what we call word salad, of course. And then, oh, hello, here comes another plane. It's fun living under the flight path. Now, that uses real energy.
That's right. It reminds you of the advances of technology, as they said in Castle.
It says it combines the power of colour and crystal light frequencies. Now, again, these are just words put together.
They're just words thrown together.
Yeah.
Frequencies is another technical word.
How would you technically give our audience a good understanding of the word frequencies or frequency, because this word comes up again and again and again?
Yes, indeed. Well, frequency is a fundamental physical property that you can measure. Frequency means how frequently something happens.
Something happens. Exactly right, yeah.
And the power coming to your house, the frequency is 50 cycles per second or 50 hertz, because the voltage reverses 50 times a second. And when I'm speaking to you, my voice has a whole spectrum of sound. Some of the sound is 300 cycles per second or 300 hertz. Some of it's 3,000 hertz, a bit in between. So the frequency refers to some physical phenomenon, not an object, but a phenomenon. It can refer to sound, it can refer to light, it can refer to X-rays. Your holidays might have a frequency of 2 per year or 1 per year.
Yeah, so it's really a time interval between two events.
That's right.
When you boil down to it. So when they talk about the frequency, they don't even discuss.
They're not even referring to what physical phenomenon is, whether it's light or ultrasonic vibrations. Another example of frequencies.
This was the sort of thing we were getting with the power balance wristband. If you remember that one, they would say it's embedded with frequencies.
And the wine card.
Is
embedded with frequencies which were transferred to the wine.
So let me look at that sentence. Embedded with frequencies. Does that make any sense as a standalone?
It's like saying this rock is embedded with length.
well,
just as meaningful.
Yeah. So to say something is embedded with frequencies is just a nonsense.
It's not a frequencies is not a noun that you can use in that application.
Right. So you'd have to
say... You could say it contains light, or it's being vibrated by something, or
something
ultrasonic.
You can't embed something with frequencies because the sentence doesn't make sense.
That's right. Frequencies is a physical measurement.
Yeah.
Not a phenomenon.
Yeah. So next time someone says that, the next question is frequencies of what?
Yes.
And you know what the answer would be? Oh, energy.
Yes. Round in circles.
And I mean, you've been at this game for a long time, Ian. A lot longer than I have. You must have come across similar sort of things where people say the mystical energies, or you've come across claims with crystals before, I would imagine.
Oh, many times.
Yeah.
Yes, usually you just laugh at them the 100th time.
We're just looking at some other pictures taken at the same shop here, and one of the other things they have here is a big sign that's saying, immerse yourself in crystal light bed therapy, and it says the book
cleanses and opens your chakras. There you go.
There you go.
Chakras is, at least they're not claiming that to be a scientific term.
It cleanses and opens your chakras from negativity
and energy blockages. Energy blockages. That's right.
Yeah, let's talk about energy blockages and this whole thing of negative energy. It's another nonsense, isn't it? I mean, maybe they're thinking of a positive and a negative on a battery terminal or something like that, but that doesn't mean
good or bad.
No,
right.
it could mean north or south or 1 or 2. It's just a way to differentiate, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes, I got into trouble on some healing retreats where the Japanese professor was cleansing our negative energies, or chi.
Oh, yes.
And at the end of the session, you'd brush yourself down to scrape away all the negative chi off your body. And I had the nerve to ask, where does it actually go? I said, is that what these holes in the floor are for? And does it accumulate under the building? Will it come back and haunt us again later? And he looked at me like I was stupid. Anyway, the next session, so now brush all the negative energies off you. And he said, where they go, we do not know.
Oh, really? Well, how about
So at least he remembered it.
So, yes, this whole concept of negative energy is a nonsense, of course. Chakras are a nonsense because they're just a made-up points of the body, just arbitrary, I would imagine.
Yes, chakras and a lot of Ayurvedic so-called doctrine and so forth comes from a pre-scientific civilization in a different age.
Yes.
And so you can't blame them for making up things like that because they didn't have a knowledge of science. But energy and frequency
they're real words.
Well known, real science.
The next point it makes here under benefits lifts your energy vibration while aligning the entire chakra system. Let's look at the first part, lifts your energy vibration. Does that make any sense
Not
to
at
you?
all.
So again, we got word salad. We've just got words thrown together that sound like they're from science and they sound meaningful, but simply don't make any real sense.
I like this one. Improves all health conditions.
That's a big claim.
That's right. If you look at a medication and read its description, it tells you specifically what ailments it can benefit. Like, for example, high blood pressure or gastric reflux. But something that would improve all health conditions.
That's quite a claim. But there is one claim here that I would say would work. Benefits feeling deep relaxation and inner peace. I would expect if you go to one of these sessions and you're treated well and you lie down on something you think is mystical, you will probably get a relaxation benefit out of it because you think something mystical and magical is happening. I mean, you get the same thing lying down on a blow-up bed on a swimming pool, I would expect. And be a lot
or a
cheaper.
flotation tank, Richard. I don't know whether you've ever had a session in a flotation tank. Yes.
Yeah, when I was younger, I tried a flotation tank and I found it restful and peaceful and quite pleasant.
Or a massage.
And indeed, absolutely right.
So these make you feel better, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But don't cure illnesses.
No, they don't. So, yeah, this whole...
Now, the other one is the immune system. I see it stimulates and boosts the immune system. Well, funny enough, what really affects the immune system is called immunisation.
It's something we know all too well on
the process to do that is called vaccination.
That's it. That would help. So, yeah, I don't see how lying in a crystal bed would do that. And we got other word salad here. It is a relaxing, rejuvenating, repairing and rebalancing experience.
Oh, rebalancing is very important. If you're unbalanced, you'll tend to fall over as you walk along the footpath, I'm afraid. So that wouldn't be any good, would it?
No.
Move your centre of gravity. There's another physical measurement you can do. Measure your centre of mass.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of these New Age words popping up here, Ian, and in the end, it's really an abuse of words that have very powerful meanings in science and very definite meanings.
Yes. All I can say is that furthering science education will help to promote this. It's clearly shown that the higher the level of science education, the less the belief in woo in the community.
Yeah.
So it benefits everyone. You don't always benefit in your career, perhaps, or vocation from science education, but it helps you adapt to everyday life.
Yeah, and it might help you when you see something like these words strung together, lifts your energy vibration, then you can recognise that is a meaningless statement.
You might go and spend your money on something that will benefit you, like we mentioned, a massage or a pleasant holiday or a dinner with a friend.
I'd rather have a dinner with a friend than a crystal.
The other thing is crystal light bed therapy. Without knowing what it does, let's suppose that there is a bed of crystals, and then a clear with lights under them to illuminate them.
Yeah,
and maybe there's a clear plastic surface that you then lie on, so that your body is exposed to this. That would be very much like a tanning booth. Do you remember those? What was the term?
Yeah, salons. Yes, tanning booths. Yes, I know.
But they'd expose you to ultraviolet light, so you would tan quickly and look attractive.
Yeah.
Well, they've been found to be very harmful.
In fact,
increase the chance of melanoma. So there's virtually none of them in use anymore.
I suspect this is probably benign. This crystal, it would probably be lying in some sort of bed with crystals and with lights on. And then all the associated claims. But crystals have had a long history in the New Age industry of mystical meanings and healings. And indeed, you can buy books which list all the range of crystals and all their healing modalities or claims.
That's right. Well, they talk about crystals refracting light and the light having special properties. Well, of course, people pay a lot of money for diamonds and other gems that are crystals, and they're cut to certain angles to refract the light in very attractive ways. But cut glass, crystal glass decanters and goblets and so forth have a very similar effect. They're almost the same manner that they refract light as diamonds. And the funny thing is that glass isn't even a crystal; it's an amorphous solid.
Yeah.
So the refraction of light that they claim for crystals is not actually specific to crystals, and so in amorphous materials as well. So sorry.
So there we are, Ian. There's a whole lot of interesting claims to look at there. We're just looking at another photograph from the shop now. We've got a range of crystal lights and crystal this and crystal that. The same shop offers psychic readings and all sorts of things like that.
I have here a couple of other examples of crystals being used for woo. One is this salt shaker here called Himalayan crystal salt.
Himalayan crystal salt. I'm shaking it.
You pay a lot of money for that, and it's pink in colour.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another exploitation.
It says here the purest salt on earth. How about that?
Well,
Stone ground granules.
Yes, beautiful. Well, of course, salt and sugar are crystalline if you look at them on a fine scale.
Yeah.
But of course, once you eat them, they dissolve in the water and they become just an ionised solution. So much for the crystals. It doesn't last long. And of course, every few years the New Age movement comes out with a different product that they can sell.
Yeah.
For example, I can remember when they were selling mud from the bottom of a Swiss lake.
Yes, yeah.
That you rub on your face
different
and it makes
muds.
you look 10 years
younger. Or
younger.
Himalayan. I'm sure I've heard of Himalayan mud. Or maybe Himalayan is just trendy to say something's from that region.
And the other one was Neanderthal charcoal. So
Really?
they dug up this ancient charcoal with mystical properties and sell that for you. Now, the other object I have here
Yep. Oh,
is
wow.
a salt crystal lamp.
It's a lamp. It's got a power cord coming out of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's very large. It maybe weighs 2 kilograms.
Yeah.
And it's hollowed out, and it's got a light globe in it.
Oh, yeah.
And that causes healing ions to be emitted by the light.
Does it?
That's right. One would think that it's just a lump of yellowish salt that puts out a nice
Pleasant
dim,
light.
pleasant light. It's
Yes.
very good for a night light because it helps you to see the stairs in the dark.
Yeah,
It's quite
yeah.
useful for that.
Yes.
But it's claimed healing properties.
Oh, really?
I'm afraid not. So crystals are used in many different things. If you go into an alternative shop, you'll probably find 10 different applications of crystals being claimed to solve various things.
I think so. Thank you very much, Ian Bryce, for your insights. I'm sure we've learned a lot more about nonsense words and crystals and frequencies and energies and things like that.
And a bit more about real physics, I hope.
And a bit more about real physics. Now back to Jo Alabaster.
Also spotted in Newtown was a chalkboard in the window of a natural cosmetics shop. It's a little difficult for me to read verbatim and fully capture the tone of what's been written, so I'll let you know when we hit all caps writing, multiple underlines and the like. Talc is closely related to asbestos. Talc particles have been shown to cause tumours in the ovaries and lungs of cancer victims. Talcum is often the number one ingredient in cosmetics. Its cost is approximately $50, that's underlined, per metric ton, that's capitalised. Then we've got $, $, all caps, do the maths, exclamation marks. Nanoparticles are the ticking time bomb of this generation, along with GMO. These particles cross the brain/blood barrier. Capitals. 1 billion nanoparticles fit on the head of a pin. The rave of invisible sunscreens is not so glamorous. Capitals. We don't, underlined, use Z-coat zinc in any, double underline, foundations or products. Lots of exclamation marks. All caps. Knowledge, if not applied, becomes a burden. And then we've got a couple of little X's as kisses at the end. Wow, so that's a rather scary claim, that talc causes cancer. And I'm very happy to reassure you that it is a myth. It's an interesting one, though, as it did originally have some basis in fact. The shop window sign claims that talc is closely related to asbestos. This sounds rather alarming, given that most Australians are quite familiar with asbestos fibre inhalation-related illnesses, including malignant lung cancer, mesothelioma and asbestosis, and the controversy surrounding the closing down of the asbestos mining and manufacturing industries. As far as mineral composition goes, talc is fairly closely related to asbestos. Talc is hydrated magnesium silicate. Asbestos constitutes a set of 6 naturally occurring silicate minerals. However, this does not suggest that talc is a danger. A parallel claim would be to suggest that water, H2O, is dangerous because it has a similar chemical composition to hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. Unlike water, hydrogen peroxide is an oxidant, corrosive, and creates localized capillary embolism on contact with human skin. That one extra oxygen molecule resulting in an unstable peroxide bond makes a heck of a lot of difference. So where's the fact? Because of their similar composition, talc deposits are often found close to asbestos deposits. As such, talc deposits can be contaminated with asbestos. While the talc itself is very much innocuous, talc products produced prior to 1973 were sometimes contaminated with asbestos. In 1973, regulation of talc products was introduced, resulting in prior risks associated with contaminated talcum powder being abolished. Modern talc refining processes are stringently monitored, and there's no risk of lung disease associated with modern talcum powder or talc products. The ovarian cancer claims are based on studies which found an increased ovarian cancer risk associated with the use of talcum powder, but relied on self-reports over a large time period and as such were unable to measure either the purity of the talc used by participants nor the frequency and dose at which it was applied. As such, no causal link has been drawn between talc and ovarian cancer, and studies have been deemed inconclusive. Now, nanoparticles. There is no known health risk associated with products containing nanoparticles applied to the skin. In 2013, the Therapeutic Goods Administration published a review of relevant studies which concluded that nanoparticles do not penetrate the skin beyond the outermost layer. Systemic absorption of nanoparticles is unlikely. Zinc oxide nanoparticles in particular have been studied, and when exposed in vivo to human immune cells, the immune cells absorbed the nanoparticles and broke them down. Claims regarding the dangers of nanoparticles in skin products are not based on any credible evidence, nor for that matter is the other suggestion slipped in on the side that GMOs pose a health risk to humans, despite public successes of anti-GMO campaigners. You know, I get the impression that the people who run the natural cosmetics store very likely believe that they are doing good. I could be cynical and come to the conclusion that they're knowingly using non-evidence-based fear tactics to sell their products, but that's something I rarely come across when encountering people who manufacture products based around a naturalistic fallacy and false dangers. I think that it's far more likely that perhaps at some point the store owners came across misinformation on the dangers of talc and nanoparticles and took it as fact, and then built a business around something that they felt was going to be good for people. Likewise, the vast majority of alternative medicine practitioners, crystal sellers and other assorted woo peddlers strike me as genuinely wanting to and believing that they are doing good. Does this excuse the fact that their practices are not based on solid scientific evidence? Well, not at all. I feel that everybody has a responsibility not to spread misinformation and pseudoscience, particularly when such can cause people to forgo evidence-based medical assistance or advice, be seriously out of pocket buying magic beans, or place faith in myths rather than facts. However, I still try to remain charitable in dealing with people who make these claims. They're rarely made with malicious intent. Likewise, I hope that people are able to understand that when we question their claims and ask for evidence, we're not doing so to be malicious, smug, or dogmatic. Anyhow, I think that it's worth keeping an eye out when you're passing by shop windows or public notice boards, particularly in areas with higher concentrations of alternative lifestylers, alternative practitioners, and the like. It can make for a good opportunity to keep on top of the sorts of claims being made and prompt some interesting fact-finding and discussion. For more Evidence Please, you can find my blog at evidenceplease.net. Evidence Please is also on Facebook, and you can contact me on Twitter at Jo Alabaster.
Having a baby is a very special experience for any young parent. But imagine what it would be like to live with the fear that at any time that baby could become seriously ill and even die from a preventable disease. This was the everyday reality for our grandparents and the countless generations before them. The Vaccination Chronicles is a documentary film by Richard Saunders with stories from real people who know firsthand what it's like to see family members suffer from diseases we hardly hear about today. It's a powerful message for today's parents wondering about vaccinating their own children. The documentary is free to view and show in public without seeking permission. Just Google The Vaccination Chronicles for the YouTube link. You can also order the DVD of the documentary, autographed by Richard Saunders, for only $12. This covers production and postage to anywhere in the world. The DVD includes extra interviews, archival newspaper reports and other features from the 1940s and 1950s. The artwork for the DVD and the cover are included on the DVD itself. Just visit www.skepticzone.tv to order your copy. Once you have the DVD, it's your job to copy it and pass it along to as many people as you wish. They, in turn, are encouraged to do the same. The Vaccination Chronicles, a must-see for all today's parents.
Welcome to A Week in Science from RiAus, bringing you the science you need to know. If your reality could use a few improvements, why not augment it? Augmented reality is an emerging technology that's here to inform, guide, and entertain us in the real world. When you think of unreal experiences, virtual reality probably comes to mind. But why create a virtual reality when you could simply adjust the world in which you live? All you need for augmented reality is a camera and a display. Then you can add elements, even interactive elements, to a real-world view. Smartphones and tablets are the obvious device for augmented reality. Using GPS or other landmarks, augmented reality apps can help you navigate, give you useful information, or change your surroundings. What about a dedicated display? You could have unobtrusive glasses or a futuristic headset. Either way, this type of augmented reality can change your world. As you can expect, the commercial applications have been well and truly noticed. Advertisements can come to life, leaping from the page or screen to offer more information and content or show a preview. And trying on clothing and accessories might be a thing of the past. So if changing reality takes your fancy, here's 4 fast facts about augmented reality. The very first augmented reality head-mounted display was developed at Harvard University in 1968. But the term augmented reality wasn't coined until 1990. Google started beta testing their augmented reality headset, Google Glass, in 2013, and researchers in the US are developing a way to display information directly to the retina. It would look like the information was floating in front of you. That's it for This Week in Science. For more information on augmented reality, go to the RiAus website, riaus.org.au. Follow us on Twitter at RiAus and like us on Facebook. I'm Tania Meyer and we'll catch you next week.
On maynard.com.au. We should call for a sound effects solo. This is where Tim gives me a couple of hours' work by getting a sound effects solo together. Tim, call for a sound effects solo.
A pussycat firing a machine gun at a bucket of water.
There you go, Tim.
Oh, man, you managed to find that. Who knew someone had recorded that?
On maynard.com.au. AU!
It's the Raw Skeptic Report with Heidi Robertson.
Hello everyone. On Tuesday afternoon this week, March the 17th, Riley John Hughes, at just 4 weeks old, died from pertussis, commonly known as whooping cough, in Princess Margaret Hospital in Perth. Riley was too young to have had his first pertussis vaccine, which is given between 6 to 8 weeks of age. His is the first death from whooping cough in Western Australia since 2011. Despite enduring an unimaginable loss, Riley's mum and dad have set up a Facebook page called Light for Riley in order to raise awareness of this dreadful disease. Riley's dad says, "Due to the significant media attention that the tragic passing of our beloved son has drawn, we've established this page. What will come from it yet, I'm not entirely sure. We're desperate to ensure the passing of our child has not been in vain and to try and assist other families who may be potentially suffering from similar circumstances." On Thursday the 19th of March, the Daily Telegraph published the following exclusive report. Quote, "Free vaccine for pregnant mums to beat deadly whooping cough. Every pregnant woman in New South Wales will receive a free whooping cough vaccine," the New South Wales government has announced in response to the latest infant death. Health Minister Gillian Skinner announced the move exclusively to the Daily Telegraph after news broke that 4-week-old Riley Hughes died on Tuesday in Perth. New South Wales will offer these vaccines to all pregnant women in New South Wales in their 3rd trimester free of charge, and we are currently awaiting new guidelines from the National Health and Medical Research Council in order to progress, Ms Skinner said. Health experts fear Australia is on the verge of another whooping cough epidemic, with numbers up 300% on last year's figures. The Daily and Sunday Telegraphs have been campaigning through the No Jab, No Play campaign to raise vaccination rates in New South Wales. There have been 2,893 cases of whooping cough in Australia so far this year, with 1,221 of those in New South Wales. The new announcement follows Victoria and Queensland's lead to offer the free booster to pregnant women in the 3rd trimester. Previously, babies have been given the vaccine at 6 weeks, 4 months and 6 months, but a booster given in the last trimester of pregnancy is now thought to offer the best protection for newborns. Professor Peter McIntyre, Director, National Centre for Immunisation Research and Surveillance, said pregnancy shots were offered in the UK in 2012 after a spate of baby deaths, and as a result, numbers decreased by 90%. Director of Communicable Disease Branch of New South Wales Health, Dr Vicky Shepherd, said New South Wales was due another peak after the 2009 to 2012 outbreak that claimed the lives of 2 New South Wales babies. "We've been watching very closely with the numbers rising each month, and we haven't had a peak since 2011, so we are due for another," Dr Shepherd said. End quote. The vaccine in the 3rd trimester has a couple of advantages, both for the baby and the mother. The mother is afforded some protection from contracting the disease herself, and in having the vaccine in the later stages of the 3rd trimester, she also passes a good level of protection from the disease across the placenta to the baby, hopefully enough to last them until they can receive their first vaccine at 6 to 8 weeks of age. Bringing back this vaccine free in the wake of Riley's tragic death is very positive news for families across New South Wales. Queensland and Victoria already have this initiative in place, and on Friday, Western Australia announced they too will be bringing it in. Let's hope the rest of the states and territories now follow suit and recognise the latest research and evidence supporting pertussis vaccination in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. At the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters website, www.nrvs.info, We have no vax, no visit flyers you can print out for anyone who wants them who is expecting a new baby. These remind family and friends to get up to date with their boosters prior to visiting a new baby. Just go to the Resources tab on the website to print out either a colour or black and white version. That's www.nrvs.info. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. And as I said at the top of the show, I hope, Sydney people, I hope I can meet you at the Australian Skeptics dinner meeting on the 28th of March at the Ryde Eastwood Leagues Club with our special guest, Dr. Brad Mackay, talking about embarrassing bodies and medical madness. Promises to be a great evening. Head to www.skeptics.com.au to get your ticket. And thanks to Jo Alabaster, Heidi Robertson and special guest Ian Bryce for helping to put together this week's episode. Ian Bryce is such an interesting man, my friends. He's been a skeptical activist and investigator for many, many years, and he knows his electronics and his engineering and his physics inside out. I always go to him when I have these sort of questions. Thank you to those people who have been commenting on the videos that we've been posting up on the Skeptic Zone Facebook page. Didn't do one this week because I didn't see Maynard, I didn't see Joe, and it's more fun to do it with a colleague, I think. But enough people like those little videos, so I think we'll keep turning them out. Coming up in the coming weeks on the Skeptic Zone, I hope to bring you news about a more formal test of the premium wine card. Yes, the wine card. You rub the card against a glass of wine and it magically tastes better. Well, that's the claim anyway. And Australian skeptics are going to put this to a rigorous scientific test. A couple of weeks ago on the Skeptic Zone, we had a fun test with the wine card at Skeptics in the Pub in Sydney, where people got to try out the card for themselves. Pretty soon we'll be doing a proper rigorous test. Will the wine card work? Well, if I was a betting man... And thank you to those people, of course, who contribute to the Skeptic Zone via PayPal at skepticzone.tv. Your contributions are not only appreciated, they're actually needed to help to keep the show going. So we do thank you very much. And before I go, if you listen to the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe podcast with my friends from the Skeptic's Guide, you would have heard me as a guest rogue this week. If you don't listen to the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, it might be fun to download the latest episode to hear me chip in. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders, signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.